My buddy's gonna love the show.
Hey everyone, Mr. Devil here, Kenny Danico, three-time Stanley Cup champion of the New Jersey Devils, and you're listening to the Uncle Puckers New Jersey Devils podcast with Chris, Dan, Bobby, and Tony, the Uncle Puckers. Let's go Devils!
Where we're coming from you live from Breakwater Beach, apparently. The sound of water gushing.
Guys, I'm sorry, I'm river rafting today.
Doing the show on the rapids. I like it. Hey guys, so the Devils, and apparently the Devils and the Hurricanes and the Rangers, nobody wants to win this division, huh?
That looks like it.
It just kind of seems like nobody
No, you
wants
take
to
it.
win
No,
the
you take it.
Metropolitan Division. It's really, we're exactly where we were, Saturday night after the Bruins game. 109, 108, 107 as far as points. Us and the Carolina 109. We have 108. Rangers 107. Rangers have one game left. We each have two. Nobody wants to win the Metropolitan Division.
Well, we're where we are Saturday night, but with the
Bobby wants to
easier
win the
schedule,
Metropolitan Division.
I want to win the Metropolitan.
He's predicted that
Division.
they're going to win the Metro.
Especially now that it's really looking like Pittsburgh might have an easy route to slide into that 8th spot.
Yeah. No, I get you. I wouldn't mind facing Pittsburgh.
We want them in the 7th spot, not the 8th spot.
True.
That's
Right.
the problem.
True.
Correct.
Yeah. You don't. I mean,
7
whoever's
is looking to be what? Who do we have?
Islanders, Florida, Panthers, Islanders, and Penguins are all in the running. I can get their points
Yeah,
up now.
I mean, of the three, you
pretty
definitely
sure
want
that-
So it's
Pittsburgh, right?
92
If you're
points
I
for
think
Florida.
Pittsburgh has a game in hand. I think.
So
Um,
Florida's played 81. Islanders played 81. Pittsburgh's played 80.
Yeah, so Pittsburgh has that game in hand. They're sitting at 90 points. Islanders have 91, and the Panthers have 92. So the Panthers have one game left. The Islanders have their one. So if they each win, they'll be at 93. Panthers will be at 94. And if the Penguins win both their last two, they'll be at 94. I don't know
That
who has
kicks
the
the
tiebreaker
Islanders out,
between.
but then there's a tiebreaker between them and Florida.
I don't know who
either.
has the tiebreaker on that, but I mean, at this point, guys, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, Carolina's got Detroit tonight, and then they have Florida on Thursday, so they're playing the same nights that we're playing.
They've lost 3 in a row.
The Rangers don't play again till till Thursday against Toronto, and then we have the Sabres and the Caps to finish it off. So yeah, it's a division that nobody really wants to get the stranglehold on, and
Are you under attack?
Win. You guys talk. I'm going to mute my mic until my dog
I
stops.
think right now, as we speak, Chris is being torn apart by dogs. Listen to that. Oh my
Cool.
goodness.
Now we could split all the proceeds by 3 instead of 4.
That thank goodness. All the how do you split
Gonna be rich now.
$1 33 cents? No, I think that it really doesn't matter who we play, except for I don't know about you guys. My least favorite first opponent would be the Islanders. I don't know how
still
you
agree
feel.
with that. Yeah, I still agree that
I mean-
that was definitely be our least. To me, it looks like they're the team that's going to get slid out. I feel like Pittsburgh's going to at least get in that top 8. Unfortunately for the Islanders, but I just don't. I think Florida's secure. They got that extra point. I think that's going to hold.
See, that would be the best case for me. Like Florida and the Islanders don't make it. Florida makes it, and Pittsburgh makes it.
I tell you,
And,
Florida's scary though, man.
Florida's
You're
scary
right.
for us.
You're right. I think I would rather have Pittsburgh than Florida for sure. But I don't know. But what do you think, Tony? Pittsburgh or Islanders? If you have your choice of who you're
Oh,
playing.
I would play Pittsburgh in a heartbeat over the
Yeah,
Islanders.
okay,
It would be like
definitely.
I mean,
And how about Florida or the Islanders?
Florida, I think, like I said, I've been watching them lately, and they, first of all, Kachuk has carried that team on his back. I mean, really.
And he had his way with our team for a little while
Yeah,
too.
I mean,
At least
those
in that
both of
one
those
game,
brothers.
he ran all over Heischer, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I'd still take Florida just slightly over the Islanders. So my order would be
I could see that,
Pittsburgh,
yes.
Florida,
Yeah,
New York.
I agree. Well, I think it most likely is going to be the Rangers though, which I'm totally cool with, and I think it's going to make for an exciting first round for sure.
I think it'll make for a very good first round. I mean, back to what you're saying. I mean, yeah, I think the easiest path forward and path of least resistance would be the Penguins for the first round. I think we beat Florida. I also think it ends up being, like a little bit of a Pyrrhic victory. I think we will have nothing left for the second round if we go to battle with the Panthers, and I think the Islanders beat us. So that's those are how I feel about it. I think I agree, the best well, maybe not the best matchup. Best matchup would be Pittsburgh, but the most likely matchup is going to be the Rangers, and I think we'll be okay against them. The Islanders are the team that I don't want to see. I've been saying it for a while. They're built for long playoff runs, and I would love to see them and Boston go at it in the first round. Because I think whoever comes out of that one is going to be considerably, like I said earlier about us against Florida, they will be considerably weaker.
That's a great point. I mean, who do you want Boston to play? I can't argue with that. Let them play the Islanders. I mean, that would be the best possible thing there to wear them out some.
Chris, I don't agree that at this moment that the most likely scenario is us and the Rangers. Because if the way the schedule holds out for Carolina and us, the way Carolina's been playing, it's very likely that we win our last two, and they can get 3 points in the next two, and we would still tie them and have the tiebreaker.
Oh, we have the tiebreaker?
We win outright. We
Is that what it
hold
is?
the tiebreaker.
Heads up or goals?
So even with that point, I think they're going to lose one of those games, and maybe in regulation, let alone in overtime, and we could still win with.
Wait, just refresh my memory. What is the first tiebreaker? Is it heads up play or is it goals?
Heads up play.
Okay, and we got Carolina in that?
Yeah, we won 2, they won 1.
Okay, all right. I couldn't remember our season
how many
record.
times did we play them? 3 times? I thought we should have played them 4 times, so maybe I'm wrong about that.
I know we have the first tiebreaker, so.
Okay, the we got to find out what the first tiebreaker is
that's all right.
we go out.
Maybe it's irrelevant. I was just a little curious. No,
Bobby, you definitely. I mean, Carolina plays Detroit tonight.
Right.
They should beat the Red Wings.
They should.
Then they play Florida on Thursday, and that game for Florida is probably going to be for everything.
Could be.
So, we're finishing up with a Washington team that's out. They have nothing to play for. There is that Sabre team that's really playing great hockey right now that we have to play tonight. And, that's going to be a big test because they kicked our ass last time we played them, and they have just been on a tear.
Yeah,
and this kid, Devin Levi, is playing out of his head.
We can't lose.
Whether or not he's in goal tonight.
You know why we can't lose?
Because
we got Luke Hughes. Yeah, we got 2 Hugheses. Yeah. So that's an exciting thing. Win or lose, I can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
So excited to see him play. This was something that we talked about for weeks on this show. That this was the game we
Months,
said. That he should be in against Buffalo. Now, do we have a lineup? Do we know who's sitting out?
Well,
or
I know
is
who's
it,
paired with.
Vanacek's playing tonight. I heard. I believe that's.
Paired with Hamilton.
That,
All right. Oh, he's paired with Hamilton.
They moved him up to the first
Holy shit.
pairing with Hamilton. So I'm sure that Ball's being moved back down with Severson,
Yeah, I'll
and I'm
pull it
guessing
back
Smith is a scratch and Siegenthaler is scratched.
Tell me
So
Damon
they
Severson's
can't-
a scratch.
No, he's not. He's down the third.
That's too much to hope for.
So we have it's
At
Hughes,
least they
it's
didn't pair
Hughes,
him with
Hamilton,
Yeah, exactly.
Graves, Marino, and Siegenthaler, Severson. Vitek in net.
Okay.
And
Siegenthaler's in the
Lazar
goal
is
and
in
Ball.
for McLeod too.
And McLeod is not
Oh,
skating
okay.
even with them. He's he's not. He hasn't been
So
skating.
it's the head rattling that we saw from the previous game. Yeah, I was a little worried about that. He took it hard in the head, and you know how that goes, man. A guy's almost always missing one game at least after getting his bell run like
you
that.
can't fuck around with concussions, and he definitely has one.
That hurts
After
though,
hit.
man.
Now-
He's great on
now,
face-offs.
Especially going to the
amazing.
playoffs.
It hurts.
Well, real quick, I mean, do they give any kind of timeline? I mean, other than the fact
Nothing
that
yet, no.
okay.
Not even disclosed technically.
And if he's seeing double, imagine him
Yeah.
on face-offs. That's not good.
No. Let's get him to see triple, and then he could
Yeah,
just go
100%
for
on
fucking
face-off.
The one in the middle. Yeah.
So, what did you guys think of that hit? Because I don't think we really talked about it.
I thought it was a
so
clean
going
hit.
back
I really did.
for the audience listening. This was going back to Saturday night's game against the Bruins when Marchand came across the middle of the ice and he took a shoulder into the head of McLeod. McLeod went down like a sack of potatoes. No penalty called. I agree with you, Dan. That was a clean hit in my
I
opinion.
know. And you say
What do you guys
Marchand, if
think?
you didn't see it, my inclination is to
know.
think dirty hit because he's Marchand.
Right,
That's what he does. But I watched it. I watched it again, and I'm looking for anything dirty, and I really didn't see anything dirty personally. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
I think it was a clean hit, but I do wish someone would have went up to him and popped him in the face afterwards. I think that was
There was a lot of good standing up for each other in that game, but that was one moment that was missed, right? I mean, that whole shit was with Hischier that went down, where there was a lot of pushing back and forth. Maybe they could have come up a little stronger, but at least they looked better than that game against Florida earlier in the year, where they just kind of let Hischier just get manhandled. There was none of that. But yeah, that was one moment that I was like, did you guys see what happened there? Or your guy just got clobbered in center ice,
And nobody's doing anything about it.
I
I do
thought that-
agree. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more or some type of response on that. But all in all, it was a hit that was not avoidable. McLeod skated into it, and it's like you said, if any other player you don't see it and you hear Marchand, you're like, he's a dirty fuck. And but that was a clean hit, and it sucks. It just sucks. But on a positive note, I guess we can say at least we got Lazar back. That's huge.
Yes.
This dude only played 3 games for us, and this is a guy that was coveted by this team. We went out and got him. Now we can actually see him. He played 3 games. It took a while for him to even get here from Vancouver between his, passport problems and all the bullshit getting back into the States. And then when he finally gets here, had him in 3 games. He gets a lower body injury. We don't see him. How many games?
Did you hear why he decided to play today?
No.
He decided to play today because he wanted to be the first person ever to play with all 3 Hughes brothers.
Yeah, because he was a teammate with Quinn.
That's actually pretty freaking cool.
It is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I was joking.
But the big no, I mean, look, we should, yes, we want to win. We want to beat the Buffalo. We want to win the division. I mean, that winning the division as opposed to, standings and who we all kind of prefer to play or whatever, none of that means anything. If this team can go from where it was last year to the Metropolitan title, division title this year, that is so huge for this team. You probably have to give the Jack Adams Award to Lindy on that. If they win the
Seriously.
division, how do you not say Tom Fitzgerald, Executive of the Year, Lindy Ruff, Coach of the Year?
I got no problem with Fitzgerald as Executive of the Year. I think nobody else would. But Lindy has been a conundrum for me all year. I go back and forth on him. And I don't just criticize him, but sometimes I think he knows so much more than we give him credit for. And when things are going well, it's hard to argue that he doesn't, and it's hard to argue that he doesn't deserve the Jack Adams Trophy.
We talked about the other day how he's got the room, though, right? Regardless of his age and the young kids, but he could be a little funny. I don't know if you heard about the Luke Hughes taking a shot at the empty net after practice.
No, I did not hear this story.
So it was an exceptionally long practice, from what I hear, at least by practice standards. And then at the end, Lindy called all the team over to one side and had Luke at the goal line on the other side. He had to shoot it into an empty net. And if he didn't get it in, the team had to skate a lap. So first shot he missed, second shot they moved him up to the hash marks he missed, third shot he missed, fourth shot he finally got it. So the guys didn't have to skate too much. But then he was up there joking around saying that, Luke told me that the rest of the guys were out of shape, so he was going to miss a few to get him to skate. Just totally busting his balls. So he's got a good humor.
I think he's done a great job this year. Some things I have scratched my head on. It's funny because Dan mentioned we talked about genius or Magoo, right? Look at the last game, he puts Blackwood in, right before the game. We're all as we were all talking, we're like, what the fuck, right? Mm-hmm. End of the game, it kind of looked like okay, it was kind of a smart move.
I'm gonna stay with anger on that though.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah, Bobby, I know you were not.
Is going to be in the game, but the decision making for that will still never make sense to me whatsoever. I know for a fact. I know one thing for a fact: the second goal wouldn't have happened. I don't know about the first. The second wouldn't have happened. After that, maybe Vanacek lets in 5. I don't know, because Blackwood did stand on his head.
Yeah, absolutely. Vanacek could have a bad night,
right? And this is all hockey is. It's inches, right?
And that second goal was a mistake.
What's the better chance that I win? Not that crap he said on the bench about it was scheduled. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, because Blackwood just came off the injured list 4 days ago.
If Blackwood had to play the last 3 games, which I don't believe he does, but if he had to, it's tonight. That's what he should have done, is played against the Sabres.
Yes. So I will never, ever get over that. It's just not going to happen.
That's all right.
You guys noticed that lately when we play our ex-teammates, we had Palmieri killed us, and Zacha. Zacha's having a good season, He's over 20 goals for the first time
Had a really good game there.
I like Zacha.
Game winner, both goals. Yeah. Just he totally creamed us.
I think he needed a change of environment. I liked Pavel Zacha. I don't think at the end. I think it was a good move for everybody. So
Pavel Zacha is one of the most underrated New Jersey Devils to ever fucking suit up with this team. This guy was a high draft choice. He was coming in supposed to be the Devils' offensive savior every freaking year for the last 6 or 7 years, and the man is never.
Some guys
scored.
just need a team around him. Some guys just need a team.
Up until this season, his goal, I believe, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that his only scored 17 goals was his most he's ever scored in a year.
Yep.
Pavel Zacha is not this elite goal scorer that everybody thought he was, and it's under the guys that he was drafted under was that this guy is a sniper. He's not. He's a third line winger that can chip in 15, 18 goals a year. That's it. So I had a few issues with some guys last year that I didn't want back, and he was my number one on the list. I did not want Pavel Zacha back. I didn't want Tomas Tatar back after last year.
Yep.
I thought the guy was fucking invisible, and he shouldn't be there, and I didn't want him there. This year, he's completely turned it around.
And that's the thing with sports. Sometimes, and it's just like in a lot of things in life, you have to make the best decision available to you at the time. And that's the process. And if you have a good process, guess what? You don't always get a good outcome. And sometimes, if you make a crappy decision, you luck out. Just like maybe putting in Blackwood last game. He gave you a very competitive stand on his head game for most of the game there. And maybe that was the best thing. Like you said, who knows? Vanacek could have shit the bed that game. It's possible. And if you look at what happened with Zacha and Haula. Okay, Haula, I will tell you that until recently, he's kind of underperformed this year. That's what I think most people would agree with. And then, what we're hoping we got him for is right now, the playoffs. So we're going to see how this pans out. He's a senior guy on a very young team, so he has a role to play that Zacha couldn't play. And Zacha was just not performing well. Like you said, he was just never living up to those crazy expectations. I don't think it was a bad move to make. Is it look kind of like maybe it was because he's doing so well with Boston? I guess. But again, I chalk that up to the same reason that, Blackwood turned out a good game. Maybe it wasn't it was just what the outcome was. There's some luck to that.
And the intangible is huge too, and it can't be denied. Like Haula brought something to the locker room that we don't get to see, but he's definitely a major part of the turnaround. Even if he just started scoring like recently.
Because remember, Haula was snake bitten at first. I've talked about this several times. Haula at first, there was many times he just missed. It was hitting the pipes. It was just constant. There was a couple months there where you always thought he was going to score, and he just wasn't getting it in. But
I never went on a whole lot of bitching about Haula, especially in the beginning of the year when Dan and I were doing this and stuff. Haula was never a guy of what the fuck, mainly because you had scoring from all other places, and you can see just to the average fan, you can see what Eric Haula was bringing to this team without there necessarily the goals in the net, because we didn't necessarily need him to score a lot of goals.
Right.
He was a third line center. We needed him to win faceoffs. We need him for that veteran leadership, and he does a lot of the little things. He plays very good situational hockey. He does a lot of good things to help this team. So him not scoring in the beginning it has not bothered
towards
me,
the middle of the
I think
season. We were wondering about
Haula,
that shot of his, though, right?
Yeah,
remember that?
He does have a weak ass shot. Like if he's in the slot and he's got to rip a slap shot, it's most likely getting stopped because it's pretty bad. But he can score some.
But
goals.
He's a playmaker too. He's a playmaker.
Now the thing is with Pavel Zacha, and I think that Pavel Zacha would have had a pretty darn good year playing on this Devil team with these guys.
I do think so.
Pavel Zacha being every year that he's one of our guys. He's going to be one of our main goal scorers. All the shit that was thrown on him. Yeah, first and second line, this and that. That's not Zacha's.
I know.
Game.
I would love
Zacha's
to ask Fitzgerald if he knew how good this team was going to be this year, because I do believe it surprised him and everyone. Would he have kept Zacha one more year? I think he might have. I really wonder.
He wouldn't. I think he wouldn't have been quick to pull the trigger. Let alone, I mean, you did get a nice 1-for-1. I don't see too many Devil fans bitching and moaning that we have Haula and not Zacha, or in Boston, vice versa. Everybody's kind of happy with it. I think the change of scenery was the best thing that could have happened for.
Even if he was at 25 plus goals, I think that's not the situation that would have happened with the Devils. It's not like he was ready to bust out and be a 30-goal scorer.
No, well, there is no busting out. Right. This is who Zacha is. Right. There's no busting out. If he gives you 20 goals, he had a very good year. But he's most likely going to be in that 15, 17, 18 goal range. Be a third-line winger that can contribute. He's going to be what we're basically have Haula to be right now. Now, and I also think Haula might, if he's back next year, and we don't know, but if he is back next year, I think his production will go up a lot in season 2 as opposed to season 1, only because I look at what happened with Tatar last year. It was a bad team, but it was a bad team that he wasn't comfortable in, and we didn't really know where he fit.
Absolutely. What a night and day change for Tatar, right? I mean, last year he was really nothing special. And it just looked like
Wait, I'm
another guy
curious.
deserved to be on that team. But this
Right,
year,
and I'm curious if at the end of last year, if he was even thinking like, "What am I doing here? Like, this
Had
is
to have
not a
been.
place that I feel like I can be
It's
successful."
another one of those
And then-
guys, though. Part of it was a product of how he wasn't playing well, but once he really got settled into some top line minutes and realized like I could still play my game because I got Heischer and Mercer with me doing their thing, it just really started to click for him. I mean, if he were still sitting there maybe up and down our third line like a Zaka role, maybe he's not doing much either.
That's very true. I mean, I'm happy with the Hala-Zaka trade. I think it worked out great for everybody involved. So that's all you can ask for when it comes to a trade. I was glad that Zaka was gone, only because I just felt too like there was so much pressure since the day that this kid was drafted to be something that he's just not.
I remember
And if you
reading like 3 years before he made the National Hockey League, like when we drafted him, something about an interview, the Devils are a low scoring team and this and that. And I remember like the quote, not a direct quote, but something like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna have to help change that." You know what I mean? Like it was all about like I'm coming in here, I'm gonna score the goals, be the offensive spark plug, and nothing.
pissing vinegar in the 18-year-old's eyes.
Did you guys notice that
but-
when that with the hit on McLeod when they were all like everyone was going at it in the corners, or you see Zaka and I forget who he was holding back, but you could totally tell it was like, come on, there was like a connection there. He still had this connection to the Devils, like it was you could just see it. To me it was kind of funny actually.
You don't want to throw down with your buddies, but he plays for Boston now, so he's an enemy.
You gotta.
So, so this is really interesting, Bobby, that you said that Luke Hughes will be playing up with Hamilton. So this means that this isn't just let's get a look at Luke and see how this is. Let's give Luke the most minutes that we possibly can give.
I
him.
think this is the most
And-
exciting thing about these last two games is like, can we fit Hughes in this short amount of time to a playoff spot?
This is literally a
What does
playoff
he-
look. That's where Chris is going with this. They want to make sure they
Yeah,
can play him in the first round.
Right. What does he have to accomplish to get a spot
Hat-trick.
on that roster
Hat-trick or
for
bust.
next week? Hat-trick or bust.
I'd like to see him
right?
hit for the cycle.
I think he's going to be in playoffs. I think he's going to be on the. I have a feel. I know we were talking last week, and there were some views that he's not. I think he's going to be on the roster for some reason.
I really
You were
hope
the
so.
one saying you were one of the ones saying he wasn't going to be on the roster.
That was
So-
last
No,
week.
I don't think I said that. Actually,
Okay,
I don't
Play
think
back the tape.
I
Hold
was
on.
the one that said we
Yeah, Chris has,
absolutely
Dan
have
has
to
the
see.
tape.
Well,
We
here
have to
comes the-
see Luke.
Luke
And you
Hughes
guys,
will not
you
play in
and Bobby
playoffs.
didn't think you were going to
My
see
name's
him.
Andy.
Or then him
I
and
don't know,
Dan
but
didn't
I'm
think.
thinking that he might be. I mean, all the stuff I'm reading this week, it has the vibe that is the plan for them.
No, it should be the plan. I mean, it's you don't have a super strong, defensive core. If you can get a guy in there that's responsible defensively and can, help you, especially, I want to see him. I'm wondering if they're going to put him on the second wave of the power play, because that's where I want to see him. I want to see this guy quarterback in the power play. I want to see him, Hamilton take the first wave, have Hughes quarterback in the second wave. I would really like to see that, and that could be something to catapult our second power play unit. Our power play definitely needs to get a little kick in the ass, and I think it'll happen. I mean, I think come playoff time, things will click a little bit more for these guys. They're just all too good to not produce on the power play. So now I think we can look at this. 1 point behind Carolina. Each of us 2 games in hand. We finish up Buffalo, Washington. They have Detroit and Florida. If we get 1 point tonight, we tie up home ice. Am I wrong about that?
We get 1 point, we will tie up
we
as
tie-
long as they don't get any. If they get 0 points, we get 1. We're tied and we hold the tiebreaker.
Wait, who
No,
are we
I'm
talking
saying
about?
for
Rangers.
home ice. So home ice would be the second seed. So we
1
get 1
point,
point
guaranteed
tonight.
home ice, yes.
We cannot drop past number 2.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's
That
mission
needs to
number
be
1.
that needs to be the main goal.
1
and that's
point.
it. Just get the point and see what everything else lands. But if you end up pulling out a point and let's say Detroit beats Carolina and now we're tied with 1 game left, yeah, I mean we got a hell of a chance to go and win that division. And I mean that now I didn't think a week ago we were going to be in this position. I didn't think Carolina was going to fumble the way that they have over
Yeah,
the
well, they have
last
3
3 or 4
game losing
games.
streak, right?
Yeah, so this is right there. I tell you, as much as I want to play the Rangers, I'm super excited about the possibility of winning the Metro.
Yeah, you have to be.
Right.
You really do.
Yes.
First of all, the players still want to win every game. They're not sitting here going, Thursday's Washington, I'm going to sleep on this one. They might rest people, but they're not thinking that. they're competitors. They want to win either way. So to win the Metro, maybe you win out. What a great feeling, right? You went
I wanna
out,
win
you
the
took the
Metro,
Metro on the
definitely.
last day. You play who you play.
Yeah,
Tony,
I mean,
you don't want to win the
I-
Metro?
I do. I definitely want.
Oh.
We were saying this week. I think I don't know. Someone was saying they don't want to win the. I want to win the Metro because
Is it just the fear of the Islanders? That's why they don't
I'm
wanna
not
win
afraid.
the
I mean, it's gonna be tough no matter who we're playing, man. Let's just jump in
I
the
agree.
fire.
I agree. We're talking about like little variations here. I mean,
Nuances.
Pittsburgh, I think, is the favorite. If you're the Devils, you want to play them, but not by really that much. And they're all separated by some kind of small amount of
I
hair.
disagree. I think that we will. I don't see us beating the Islanders. I can see us beating every other team that we
I
play.
would
The
expect to see that
Islanders
in your
will
bracket.
beat us.
I think we could
Yeah,
beat anybody.
they will. I mean, I think we can, but I don't think we can beat the Islanders in a 7-game
Chris is
series.
being
That's it.
very
You
Yes.
might be
logical,
right.
and I
You might be
understand.
right.
It's something that you see these playoff matchups all the time, and you see these teams that come in 7th, 8th, even depending on the old way, 6, 7, 8, battling to get into the playoffs. These upper echelon teams have kind of been set. Maybe their seeding's not, but they've known they've been in for a month, 2 months. These bottom guys are playing their asses off for the last month of the season. They're playing playoff hockey the entire way through. That's why you see so many of these bottom seed upsets on these first seeds every single year. For as long as the hockey playoffs, NHL playoffs have been going on, you see it. And matchups are so important in the playoffs. And I just think we match up, especially over a first playoff series, against a team like the Islanders. I think it could be catastrophic. If we have to meet the Islanders in the second or third round, get a playoff round win behind us, maybe my tone will change depending on how things will play. But I just think they know how to beat us. They've done it. They do it. They know the game that they have to play to beat us, and they play it almost to perfection.
You're right to an extent, and I agree with you. I would say 90%. But here's one thing I think that works in our favor. I think this Devils team may be a stronger 7-game series team than we're giving them credit for. Now, I could be wrong. They could get disheartened by a really strong Islander outing, game 1, game 2, and just fold like a house of cards. But I don't see it. I see that the Devils, like they've done all year, will adjust and play better as they go. They got that youth. And that's what makes them so scary. I think if you're the Islanders and you're going, and I got an Islander fan who's a buddy of mine I work with, and we were talking about this possible matchup, and he's like, yeah, Islanders are good, but those Devils are scary. And I know what he means. You don't know what their upper level can be. You just know that they just keep getting better. They have all that, like they don't ever get tired. The closest they've seen to them getting tired all year was in that last game with Boston. And Boston plays a similar game, so don't get me wrong. You're not far off base with the same kind of fears I have. But I think it could work out even if we have to play the Islanders.
I hope you're right.
I hope so.
I really do. I hope you're right because, I mean, look, I don't want to see this team. Nobody wants to see this team go out in the first round. And I just think, and I like the way we match up against the Rangers better. So, yeah, I'd like to see the Rangers. Now, is there, and I guess there's really, if we win the Metropolitan, there's just no way we play the Rangers. They're pretty much set. They can move to 2, but they most likely set at 3.
No, that's it, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, home ice is basically all we're playing for tonight. Now, if Carolina wins tonight and we lose tonight, it's pretty much, I guess, unless they lose and we win in the last game, we hold the tiebreaker.
Right.
So, yeah, the whole thing's just going to come down to Thursday night.
It really is. It's going to go all the way to the wire.
I want to win this division strictly for the simple fact of being able to say, look where we were last year, basically worst to first, win the division. That's awesome.
They brought it up in the ESPN game, the game against, and I think they said that the Devils are a couple points away from the biggest point jump, right? What was the numbers, Bobby? You remember?
On Saturday, I think it's 37 points, I think it was, and we had a chance on Saturday to make a 39-point jump.
Okay.
If I'm right, and so obviously we still have that chance tonight.
And that would be a record-setting since there have been 82-game
82
season.
games, right?
That no team has made a bigger jump from one year to the next. That is an amazing stat. I didn't even realize that was on the table. That's like an NHL record for, like you said, worst to first or close to worst to close to first. I mean, it's the biggest point jump in one season.
When you
Impressive.
look at the teams too that did it, the types of teams like the Penguins and like the Avalanche, and then you look at the comparables of the types of players and lines that they had in the center depth, you can see how this team fits into that mold of doing the same thing.
Let's face it, we got our own Crosby. I mean, these teams
We
are like
an elite team this year.
Yeah.
I think it's still really hard for me to kind of comprehend that as we've been talking about this. We sit on top of the league with a very good chance of winning the hardest division in the sport this year. And
Definitely.
it's still.
By the way, we got enough
amazing.
points to win both divisions in the West. Am I wrong? I think that we have enough.
Right now at 108 points, we're sitting 45 points ahead where we finished last year.
Which is amazing.
45 points ahead.
I might have my numbers off.
Honestly,
22 more wins. Think about it. Like, that's crazy.
the Devils have already won the season, for the fans in that regard.
Amazing.
Everything else here is gravy. I mean, I'm hoping they have an awesome playoff run. You know how much we believe in them, and that's why we think, hey, wait a second. Don't be satisfied with a first round and out, a second round and out. Don't be satisfied with anything less than a cup. But let's face it, they've really won the season already.
In all honesty, the only way that this could be a little disappointing, and this is not a big disappointment, if it is a kind of a really crummy first round, they don't at least maybe advance and get to a second round and really start to get into that playoff feel where you really get that, that's what the playoffs are for next year. I think if we get shut out 4-0 or 5-1.
It's hard to say that's good experience for next year, right?
Yeah, because look, 2018 didn't catapult us anywhere. It just probably sent us
and you
back
wouldn't
more.
sit there. You wouldn't sit there and say that Heischer and Bratt and these guys have playoff experience.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
They
So
lost
you
five-
start
they
going.
won five games.
Once you know what it's like to win a round,
Yeah.
that
Right.
kind of
Or
energy.
if you're going to lose the first round, it's got to be some kind of epic Game 7-3 overtime, loss that you're going to like. Okay, they're going to remember that experience and they're going to take something from it. But you're right; it can't be like 4 or 5 games and out. That doesn't look like good experience for next year. Yeah, I don't think so.
And I also said this back when we were like probably doing our 13 game win streak. And I had said this, that I don't think there's anything that would propel this team in the playoffs moving forward. Like, nothing would strap a rocket to their ass more than beating the Rangers in the first round.
Agreed.
I think that would just turn a switch that I don't know if these guys will be able to turn it off. Because they just can be so good, and playing that team with that emotion, in that arena, and we go and we take that series. That's a very nice time.
Thank you.
Can you hang it from something?
I like it. So I wish that we were
So,
now on
season
video
finale.
podcast.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just think that if we go and beat the Rangers in that first round, I do think it could catapult us through the Eastern Conference into the Eastern Conference Finals.
100%.
I really believe
This
that.
young team, pretty good chance at any round to do that too. Any matchup.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, maybe the Rangers is too much of a emotional charge. Like, if you're gonna script this and you want to build something, I almost think Pittsburgh would be better because nobody has an emotional stake in Pittsburgh. Not even
And
people in Pittsburgh.
I think the Pittsburgh Penguins will be the best team to kind of tune these guys up.
Yeah.
I think you can beat Pittsburgh, and I don't think anything will be
5
easy.
games,
but
I think.
I think 5 games they could probably do it.
Yeah, you're not
maybe
expecting
4.
injuries in that series, and that's huge.
Right. I mean, of course, that all.
I mean,
comes
anything
into
could
play,
happen, but some teams will grind you
Right.
up more than others.
Apples to apples, we should beat Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it ends up being where if we play Pittsburgh, so that would mean that we won the division, which means Carolina would play the Rangers, and we would then play whoever comes out of that series. So I think Devils Rangers second series would be a lot cooler to see, just to have like that build up. We each have a playoff win. We each got some experience.
I hope the
now.
Rangers are beat up a little bit.
They're both in it though, like they're feeling it, and then we can just go and smack them in the mouth and move on to Boston in the Eastern Conference Final. That would be ideal. But again, like we said a million times, we have no control over this shit.
I think we move on to Islanders in the Eastern Conference Final.
Well, yeah, if the Islanders play Boston, I'm still
probably
taking them to
not,
beat
but that'd
Boston.
be great. It's hard to predict Boston losing any round besides the conference final, and even then.
I mean, Chris said it weeks ago, and I think a lot of us
Say it to
disagree.
every President's Trophy winner.
Well, he did say that if any team could come in here and beat Boston, it would probably be the Islanders. And I just want to tell you, listening to a lot of the analysts, they're pretty much saying the same thing. Like, if anybody can like match their style of game, it's that dark horse down there. So
Yeah.
in that case, though, if you're talking about
And
a
once
conference
again,
final,
the
I'd rather
Uncle
play the
Puckers are
Islanders
talking-
in the finals than Boston.
And once again, the Uncle Puckers are talking about things months before the analysts are talking
That's
about
right.
these
So good.
things. We've done this. We do this all the time.
Mic
If
drop.
people would just listen to our
The
podcast,
analysts are listening. That's
That's
what
the
it
hardest
proves.
part, isn't it?
to get them to listen.
All
to get
four
them
of
to
our
fucking
listeners are
listen to
analysts.
everything. Yeah, exactly. It's probably just PK.
My
Speaking of,
mom, PK.
We got to
tell
get
you,
PK
my
on pretty
neighbor.
soon.
Been listening,
Yes, we do.
Been listening to a lot of NHL radio today, hearing just great things. I mean, just positive things all around when it comes to the Devils. Just a couple comments to make. There was one guest on, don't know the name. The only thing I didn't like is they were talking about how, he was saying, giving New Jersey praise about how that would be kind of his dark horse Stanley Cup kind of champion. Thinking that most teams we flew under the radar and they didn't take us serious for most of the year. We're gonna catch them off guard, and that kind of set me back a little bit. Where I was like, I don't think we've caught anybody off guard since maybe Game 9 of that 13-game winning streak. So I didn't really appreciate that. I think that other teams out there are thinking, oh, it's just New Jersey, we're gonna go in there and wipe them away. I think it's complete opposite. So I didn't agree with them on that. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up is that I have a big problem with Linda Cohn. You guys remember Linda Cohn?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
This goes way
Why do you
back
have
to
a problem
when
with Linda Cohn?
one comment she made when Marty was in his prime,
Okay.
basically saying he was overrated. And I could never get over that. And then hearing her voice. So Linda Cohn was on today, and here I am working. I'm like, oh, shut up, Linda Cohn. You're awful. But even she said at the end here that when they're on their game, she's like, and she was speaking as if she was a devil. She's like, we're on our game, we can beat anybody. Allude to the fact that they can take this thing right to the top. Talking about the Charge in Carolina. So just again, a lot of Devils chatter today, a lot of optimism, and a lot of these guys saying, this is a team that can really, make some moves in the playoffs.
And I think a lot of people too, especially the analysts, are when it comes to the Devils, nobody knows. Nobody has a clue. We can only look at this season, and this season we go. We start the season out in November, where the 13-game win streak is happening. They honestly look like one of the best hockey teams I've ever seen in my life.
During that clip, statistically, they literally
right.
were.
And then you go into December rather, and the wheels fall off a little bit, and we give up that huge cushion that we had, and we lose a ton, and things are very out of place. So, and I know Dan and I talked about this in length going into January. Okay, they had just played the Penguins on a Friday night. It was a big win. I believe it was a shutout. It was a big win, and that was kind of the game that took us out of that losing skid in December. And it was, I think, the last game of December was a Friday night against the Penguins. We won it. Things got back on track. But after that game, Dan and I did a show, and we were both saying, look at November and then December. They were polar opposites from each other. What does this team really look like? What they're not the best team that's ever played. They're not this shitty team that was playing in December. They got to be somewhere in the middle. Now, are they more towards the November team, or are they more towards the December team?
Yeah,
We
that
didn't
was
know.
$1 million question.
That was $1 million question. Well, the question's been answered. They were most definitely more towards the November team.
Absolutely.
Tony had said a while ago, and I believe it still stands true, it's super hard to see this team lose 4 out of 7 to anybody. They are that good. They do have all the pieces, and barring injury, which does lead me to come to another question. Two games ago, I believe, or was it? Yes, it was 2 games ago. It was Thursday night. I believe that was the Columbus game, 8-1. Right. And Jesper Bratt went down. You guys remember this? Went to the locker room. Bill Spalding told us every 30 seconds that Jesper Bratt wasn't back on the bench yet.
Yeah, it made you want to kill him.
Thank you, Bill. My God, he's out of his mind. But anyway,
I don't know what he's going to do in the playoffs. So somebody's going to have to calm him down.
Isn't it funny
Bill
with him and
needs a value.
Danica? They go back and forth like Danica. It's always like
well, luckily they'll only have like
Exactly.
the first round because everything
national.
else goes to TNT. In the second round. But so Spalding's telling us every 30 seconds that Bratt isn't back on the bench. Now, I don't know how you guys felt about this, but in no way, shape, or form did I think, oh, we're fucked, we're done. And I said that to my Karen, my wife was next to me. She goes, "Is this a big deal?" I'm like, "Of course it's a big deal if he's out for any kind of considerable time, but I don't think it derails us in any way." And then I stopped and I was thinking about it. Who on this team if they went down would derail us. And I came up with 2 people,
All right.
and that's it.
I got 3, and that's it.
You got 3. Okay. Well, mine
Yeah.
are Zach Hughes
Yep.
and Vanacek.
Okay.
Those are the only 2, in my opinion. If they go down, we're fucked.
I'm going to add Hamilton.
That's a good one. That one I would hurt, but I wouldn't put the dagger in
Who
us.
do you
I'll
take
agree,
out
I'll
of
agree
those
with you. He's maybe like a distant third.
Oh, okay. You're
Yeah.
just-
Who do you guys think?
Yeah, Jack Hughes is
Definitely
obviously
Vanacek.
number 1,
Jack
and then
Hughes.
it has to be Vanacek. And for me, I think he should be number 3.
Yeah.
Another good one.
Yep.
Another good one. See, I could see us winning series, not the cup, but winning a series or 2 maybe without a lot of those guys,
about
but
Mercer?
not without Hughes. Again, it'd be a huge loss, but I don't think this team would. I think this team would be okay. I think they'll be okay. Now, Bobby, what were you saying? Who would you take out?
Oh, no. Originally, you asked for 2, and when Dan asked for
Okay.
Hamilton, I didn't know if he was calling
Oh,
Hamilton
right.
number 2 or like a 3.
No, yeah,
Meyer would
definitely
be a
third.
nightmare too. If Meyer got hurt, that I think that would be a big chip off the table.
You're right. I mean, there's
I
a
agree.
bunch
There's a
of them.
lot of guys that you don't want to
And
lose.
Brat would
but
probably
I'm-
be right there with Meyer.
Yeah,
in my
but
estimation.
I think that if any of them go down, and we found out today that Meyer's not going to be available for the playoffs, or Brat's not going to be available to playoffs, yes, it's a huge blow. But I think this team.
I mean,
could-
here's
Stop
bottom
and think
line.
about the depth compared to the year they went in with Taylor Hall. I mean,
Right.
they had
They
no
had
depth
no
at
depth.
all. I mean,
None.
you really, it didn't matter who you lost then.
If Jack Hughes gets hurt today and they say he's not playing the playoffs, I'm saying we lose the first round. You know what I mean? That's me just
No
panicking.
doubt.
We're done. But any other
No,
player,
and I don't know if that's panicking, Bob. I really don't. I think that's he's the glue.
Yeah,
he
he's
is
definitely
the glue of this team. He's the linchpin. You can't take it. You take the linchpin out,
So fair.
everything's going to crumble. And we saw it. The guy was out for like 6 games. It took us like 4 games just to figure out what the hell the other guys were doing.
I know.
Like, he really is so important. Even when he's not touching the puck, the man is the most important guy on the
Looking
ice.
long term, they got to find a way to be at least 500 when Jack Hughes isn't part of the team. And, if they're going to be in a dynasty kind of team, and it's crazy to have this conversation right now, but if they're going to be a dynasty team over the next 5-7 years, they need to find a way to be good enough to win at least 500, if not better, when he's not in the lineup.
You know what's funny about that, Dan, though, is I do remember when he was hurt this year. They had a positive record while he was hurt, which
You're
doesn't
right.
is not makes it it doesn't count towards the playoffs. But when you say that, I'm thinking to myself, I actually remember them winning most of those games when he was out, and it was just kind of mentioned a few times.
Yeah, I think if he goes out for the whole playoffs, there's no way you can dream
No,
of a
that's-
Stanley Cup. But if he went out for a few games, I think this team could find a way to, hold it together until he came back.
Oh no, I'm saying out for the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's the one guy. He's definitely number 1. You don't want to lose. And right behind him is Vanacek. And I'll tell you this: it would be more of a distant second on Vanacek if we had done the Schmidt experience a little bit better and came in with a guy who we could believe in. Because all we got for number 2 is a guy we can't believe in. And I'm hanging my hat on his last performance. That's the thinnest thing to go in the playoffs with, as far as like my belief in my number 2. But I'm hoping that's enough if we ever need it, and I'm hoping most of all we don't need it.
Yeah, no,
I'm really hoping that we have a third guy that we can add to this thing by next week, and that's Luke. That's what I'm hoping.
Oh, absolutely.
He just comes out, and we're like, "Holy shit! Imagine if we had this guy all year."
Everybody says he's like NHL ready, but that's big talk around a guy who hasn't played a game yet. So when we see this,
does
it's going to
have
be
a
amazing.
lot-
I really hope
he's-
it's for the best.
He's got a lot of hype around him, that's for sure. And let alone his own God-given ability. Being Jack's little brother, that brings its own, bit of attention to you on it, and everybody's going to be interested in how Luke does tonight.
Definitely.
And I do agree with Tony. I think he'll be in for the playoffs. I do. I think that this kid is going to. I'm going to throw it out, a hot take, if you will, but he will impress enough over these next 2 games that he will be in for every playoff game.
There's a lot of stuff I've been reading kind of indicates that, and when we go back to these players that are so important, when I look at, so say if we play the Rangers in the first round, there's 2 players I think that will be the biggest in that series. I think Meyer and Jack Hughes. And Jack Hughes has shown it. Jack Hughes strives against the Rangers. I mean, you know,
he does well.
He loves playing against them. It's almost fun to him, which is a nice. He's like a little kid out there, which he is.
he understands the rivalry. He understands
Yeah.
that he's the new it devil, and he wants to carry this team against them for sure.
And Meyer, at the end of that Boston game, I liked that he nailed the dude, man.
Yep.
I thought that was nice to see, and I think
That
that
is the
he's going to be a
grit we
big
paid
force
for.
in that Ranger
Exactly.
game, man. That Ranger series.
You know, it was those first couple of games, you can really see a difference between Timo Meyer in the first few games that he was in, and just trying to figure out things, and then now feeling comfortable. I mean, right off the bat, that I think it was the game against Pittsburgh on Tuesday night last week. It was his first shift, and he just took somebody right into the boards. A beautiful hit. Like, that's the shit that we need our forwards to do.
He's a devil now. I feel like that. He looks like
Yeah.
he's a devil.
Yeah,
What's your-
I know what you mean.
What's your overall assessment on what we got for him? Because I'll tell you mine. I think we got exactly what I wanted to get from him in his body, his power, shot. Like, I think he's exactly the Timo Meyer we wanted. What do you guys think? Is he exactly
as
what we thought?
advertised?
Yeah, definitely as advertised. So excited to see what he brings to the playoffs because he looks like one of those guys who could totally change the series, who can provide us what we need in that really tight physical series.
And I think he wants to be there. I think, like Chris said last week, I think he will be back because I think he likes being a devil.
I had a question on that. So he's got a restricted free agent, $10 million for next year, right? Do the other teams still have that, match it or go above it?
They can't. They can go above in a written offer. And I could be wrong about this, but I'm 95% sure that what that means is the Devils have the right to match any other.
They get
give him
last
10.
look.
It's not automatic. If somebody else gives him 11, we are allowed to give him 11 plus 1.
If we give him we give him the qualifying offer and he says, sure, I'll sign, and he just doesn't even explore free agency at all, then that's not a big deal. Then he's ours. Then he can sit down with Tom Fitzgerald. Claude can sit down with Tom, and they could say, okay, how much, and hammer out a 5-year deal, a 4-year deal, whatever they want.
If you're Timo Meyer and you're going to do that, you might as well at that point rip up that contract, write your next contract, and just stay here. Because otherwise, why not listen to the people that want to give you 12?
Which is exactly what I think he's going to do. I think he's going to sit down and say, look, even if I come here, I don't want to move next year. I don't want to move in 2024-25 season. Like, let's just, if he likes, especially if they have playoff success, and he feels
when they have playoff success.
Yeah, when they have playoff success, no matter how far it is, whether it's if they win the cup, then he's probably
when they win the cup.
When they win the cup, but if we get really close and we don't win it, that's going to be another little extra incentive, I think, for him to want to sign. But I do think no, it wasn't. But look what happened to him. So Zach goes out and he goes back to Minnesota, doesn't win anything, ends up. The lore in Minnesota is just how bad him and Sutter fucked up that locker room, and the bottom line for the amount of money that they were paying those two dudes, they couldn't sign anybody. To this day, Billy Guerin still has money on the books for Zach Parise. And what's he been with the Islanders now? His third season? So that's a little crazy.
He broke my heart when he did that shit, man. That was
I think he broke everybody's heart in New Jersey when he left. I mean, he had the chance to go down as the greatest offensive player in the history of New Jersey Devils history. Now he's just a guy.
Yeah.
In his whole career, he's just a guy.
That's right. Yeah. What a shame. I buy into that stuff. I love the career Devil thing. Even Marty, I'll give him a pass for those 6 games. You know what I mean? But I'm into that, and when Parise did that, I just thought it was real. I'm like, dude, you came within a couple games of winning the Stanley Cup. Does unfinished business mean anything to you? And
well, I used to love Gomez.
I
still like Gomez, but I loved Gomez. I'll tell you the truth, when he left, when he went to the Rangers, I remember there was a period where I did not like Gomez. I was just like, it was just, to see him in that uniform, man, it just killed me.
That was hideous to see him in that uniform, really was.
I look at it like those guys were like, the band was breaking up, and they all saw the writing on the wall, all of them. So I get it, those aren't the only guys who fled.
No, but I'll go back to Patrick Elias when he was a free agent. When he was dealing with Lou, he knew he wasn't going to go to the Rangers, but he did call Lou and said, "Hey, the Rangers are calling me." He said he was never going to go there. I like that. To me,
you're right,
like
and that's
that's
why his number's hanging in the rafters. You're right. He's
exactly.
He's that character.
And you're talking about guys that left at. Like Dan said, the ship was sinking. These wheels were pretty much off the cart already when these guys started going into free agency and getting out of Dodge. This team is so new, and it's so, this is, like we've said a gazillion times, so ahead of schedule. Why wouldn't you want to be on the ground floor of this?
Yeah,
if you're a Timo Meyer and where am I going to go that I have an opportunity to
especially
win
with a good playoff performance, you're going to see nothing but players bending over backwards to come to New Jersey. That's
Now
what's
we
going
might
to happen.
get team-friendly contracts, I believe, once in a while.
Absolutely. Next
You
couple of
have to.
years,
You gotta
hopefully
get
that's what
those.
you're going to get.
For the players too, for the players that care about this, it used to be a day, remember Lou Lamoriello was in charge of everything, including marketing, and he did not like marketing the team.
No.
And now they have that. They have all the promotions. They got sold out buildings. They got Jack Hughes. I just saw him on a commercial the other night, like doing something. Like these guys are getting that secondary notoriety if they want it. If you got to be Jack Hughes or someone similar, of course.
Yeah, but Lou didn't let the other guys do
exactly.
that.
So that's
Yeah.
another
You're
thing.
right.
It's another barrier that's broken down now for players that want to come here. But winning does everything. That's the bottom line, right? If they start winning
Yes
with
and
this
no.
core, we are desirable for sure.
I will say this, that winning works for most teams to be able to attract higher end talent to come and everything like that. We were winning our cups back in 2000s. Nobody wanted to come here because of the style we played. That's what it came down to. It's like nobody wanted to come. If you were a 50-goal scorer, you're not going to come to New Jersey where they're going to make you play, defense over anything. You have to be responsible. Like Patrick Kane would never have been as successful as he was playing on the 2003 Devils. It's just, you know what I mean?
You're not
like,
wrong,
this is,
but there's also a
and now we're
secondary
at-
marketing thing going on. Like
what's really
Henrik-
nice now is we
Henrik
have rock stars.
Lundqvist made so much money selling watches in New York, and he never won
Right.
anything. And
But
that's,
my-
I mean,
my
I'm saying
point-
he made more money than. Remember, Corey Schneider was like selling like I don't know, like bank cards, debit cards, and shit.
Yes,
and it
I
was like the
remember that.
corniest, like low rent commercial.
Yeah.
And Lundqvist has made bank, as a Ranger, and he won nothing. And it's
We
like
have rock stars now, don't you think, Dan? We have Jack Hughes. My buddy was at a game a couple
you're right.
weeks ago.
If
There's
you can't
girls-
market
there's
this Devils team, you can't market anybody
There's
in
50
New Jersey.
girls waiting
So
for
let's
Jack
hope
Hughes
they
to
can
hit the
market it
ice
better.
on warm-ups. I mean, this is something we're not used to as a team. Like
You're
we
right.
have guys now that the Jack Hughes, the Nico. I guess you put Nico up there, but
Much more
we have
dynamic
guys-
team. You're right.
Yeah, we have. I mean, there's fans. Young fans are dying. We have guys that young fans want to see now. Like it's fun in New Jersey.
Well, that was what my point was, where I was saying that like the style of play back then didn't attribute it. Now with
Very
how
true.
we play, now that we're this offensive juggernaut, we are a team built of young, fast, cool guys that just want to win hockey games, win cups. It's a completely different demeanor, and it comes across to the casual fan or just even the hardcore fan that they are legitimately having a ton of fun and loving what it is that they're doing.
Absolutely.
Now, I think that, Bobby, you're right. Lou Lamoriello had a problem with that. He didn't like there to be any kind of individuality on his teams. It wasn't about who you were. It was about the name on front, and that's it. Okay, you're Jack Hughes. You can go make $10 million doing commercials playing for the Rangers. Go play for the Rangers. You're not doing that here. So the fact that, there are a lot of those. I mean, the Islanders, they still can't grow freaking facial hair. You know what I mean? It's 2023, Lou. Let's, let these guys make some money on this, not just their $3-4 million a year playing hockey. Let them go make it. I mean, another thing about the Devils, we got to talk about this. They got to get some better advertisers.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like the marketing landscape is totally skewed for the bigger markets. And that's where you're right. When the Devils have the best product on the way up, at least, that you could ask for. So if you can't market New Jersey with this team, you can't market New Jersey, period. And that's what I hopefully that this will come out. And that's why, I want to know the truth. Like, from a marketing standpoint, this is the biggest possible win we could have against the Rangers. If we could beat the Rangers and take the spotlight, I mean, from a marketing standpoint, if you're into the, what contracts can we sell to this company? That can Jack Hughes be a national? Can he be on Wheaties box? That kind of BS that we as hockey fans, especially old school ones who love the Devils that were role players. That's all that's what the real question is. If they could beat the Rangers and do well, I think a marketer person will tell you that's the most important thing.
You know what's cool about that? You're right, and you're right because of this team. Now we've beaten the Rangers before and not taken over. It's just mathematically impossible.
They still were in New York.
With
they still
this
got the
team,
magnet.
It's a very marketable team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You had a couple of guys on, everybody knew who Brodeur was. He was, even a guy who had his whole head and face covered, the entirety of the game, was very famous, very popular in this area, New York area. Everybody knew who Marty was. But they were a whole bunch of teams made up a whole bunch of role player guys. There weren't many superstars. that just like you said, kind of can end up on a Wheaties box. Or not. Of course, you could see Jack on a fucking Wheaties box, and Dougie Hamilton, and Nico Hischier, and even Timo,
Even Mercer.
and Mercer.
This is why
these guys have star quality.
This is why I'm such a huge fan of Patrick Elias. What he was able to do within the structure, and just kind of like borderline right up to that superstar, but just rein it in just enough where you're not completely like superstar status. But to me, I mean, what that guy did within our system,
he had to know that he
was
would have been,
incredible.
he would have been like a Yarmer Yager on another team.
Yeah.
Yager got all the accolades because that's what Pittsburgh does. They were very good at marketing their stars, and Elias was every bit as important to his team as Yager. It probably could have been marketed very close to a Yager. Never was. You're right, because that was a Lou Lamoriello era, and for better or worse. And I wonder sometimes if Lou saw something about, look, you are in a second-rate market because that's where you are. You're right next to the giant gravity well that is New York, and you will do well in this, taking this back door, and that extended well for his style of play and the era that it was in, the rules that were there. Now we're going in a totally different era. Like Fitzgerald's got this team going for the gold, and he's pulled out all the stops, and I'm really excited to see. And I hope they get, like, I don't give a shit about money personally as a fan, but I hope they get their comeuppance with getting some accolades for that. Tony, you were...
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's funny we talk about Lou, and I listen. When I first moved overseas, I listened to a lot of the Cam and Strick podcasts, a lot of those shows. I listened to a lot of hockey podcasts in general, and I heard a lot of the old Devil players. They had a lot of the old guys on there, and they would say, and I'm a Lou guy. I love Lou, but I do agree we're in different times now. But they would say Lou would just sit on the front of the bus, and you would walk on. If your tie was not even right, you would know you're in trouble. I think there was a rule, a two day shave rule, and this guy they say when you walked on that bus, Lou would just sit there and just stare you up and down when you went on. But there was a respect for that back then. A lot of those players, it brought a discipline to the team, and a lot of them say that about these old players,
it did bring a discipline to the team. But
now
also,
that wouldn't work, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, when you had the hard ass, we saw how they won in '95 with Jacques Lemaire, and we also saw how a few years after that, Jacques Lemaire's presence wore really thin on that locker room.
Right.
When you have hard asses from the top all the way down, it can be a lot for a team over a couple of years to just feel like, really? I had my fucking tie slightly crooked? Enough already. We've just won the fucking Stanley Cup. They wouldn't. And that's why you saw Jacques go, and this team completely. I think it was Jacques lost that locker room, and Robbie Fatorak lost that locker room too. And this was when Scott Stevens was captaining and stuff. There is a certain measured approach to have to being the hard ass, and I think Lamoriello does it very good, but you gotta have some type of levity in there for some of these teams. And
Larry Robinson was great at bridging that gap, right?
Yes, and we had a great team. We had a great team that was poised to go and win a Stanley Cup, but at the same time, we had a coaching staff that this team was fucking done with. They didn't want to hear anything. They knew how to play. They felt like they were just, all we need is just an attaboy, pat on the back, and let us go do what we do. And when you micromanage everything, it gets to be very tedious and can be very annoying. And we saw that. And we saw Larry Robinson come in, basically, take this team over around, this time? Maybe a week ago? I think it was like March 20-something. And he did it in 2000, and they go on to win the Stanley Cup. So, yeah, I
picked that bench off the ice, and there he was.
That's right.
That was Fatorak.
Yeah, I know.
Fatorak through the bench.
Yep.
One more thing on old Lou, which, so if anyone listening, we love the guy. We're not suggesting anything other. What he did for this team was amazing. But did I ever tell you guys that I got a call from Lou?
No way.
Really?
Yeah.
You want you to work for him?
I went to school in New England and in marketing, and I had chosen to do marketing competitions and a report every year that I would bring to national competitions. And I started doing a report as though I was an advertising agency for the New Jersey Devils. I needed something that really, kind of spoke to me. And I ran into a former athletic director who was pals with Lou. And he said, just give me your account. I'll have him call you. I'll reach out and see if he'd be willing to help you out so you can put together marketing material using what the Devils already have. I'm like, sure, thanks. Sure enough, got a call on my office phone. I mean, I returned it, but it was too late. But I got a voicemail from Lou just offering his help. and got me in touch with their head of marketing over at the Devils. And this is way back in like the '90s when head of marketing maybe wasn't doing as much, as the gang's doing now. But I just thought that was super cool.
Awesome.
He took.
Why didn't you ever move forward with
I
it?
did. No, I mean I called him back, but he gave me all the information I need.
So what happened? What was was it a job offer,
No,
or
no.
just
This
like
was just
use this as a reference
Or
and
a
if it can
project.
help you with anything?
I
or-
was getting samples of their marketing material to use for a marketing campaign.
Okay, I got you,
was
I got
doing,
you.
pretending I was the Devil's marketing agency.
All right,
But it was
that's
just
pretty
really, it was
awesome,
really cool
man.
for him to throw a kid in college a bone like that. And,
Yeah, I would have thought he would have give you a cease and desist, like don't mention the
No,
Devils.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause he seems like that kind of guy.
Well, this
So
was,
that's awesome.
this was I'll just
Very
say
cool.
a Providence connection. That's his roots.
Fair enough.
So,
That's
I
awesome.
mean, it sounds like mafia
That's
to me.
awesome. Yeah, he definitely
just
has
saw The
those New
Departed.
England connections. So, guys, we're gonna go play Buffalo, and Luke Hughes is in the lineup. And
Exciting.
quick little hot takes, guys.
well, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Everybody's been saying on
Or Bobby
Twitter.
go.
And did I cut you off, Tony?
No,
Probably
no, it
deserve
was
to
all you,
anyway,
buddy.
that's right. No, I'm just
Nope, you're
everybody's
good.
saying it kind of everywhere, but with the scoring title on the line for the Devils tonight, and Luke Hughes playing his first game, this could be like double history on one goal. It could be like a Luke Hughes goal from Jack Hughes.
Right.
There's so many storylines to look for tonight. I'm just really excited.
What if Luke hits Jack in the head with a shot from the point and he goes down for the playoffs?
Then
That'd be
we're
the
gonna
worst
blame you-
story.
We're gonna blame you
ever.
for this fucking prediction.
Oh God, I hope
Yeah,
not.
man.
Please.
And we moved Luke up to second line center, and see how he does.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, hot take, anyone? What do you got? Give me something, Bobby. What you think is going to happen tonight? Give me a hot take. Go.
I think it's going to be a scary, closer game than it needs to be. We'll win in overtime.
Score.
3-2.
Scorers.
Scorers: Jack Hughes, Mercer, and Luke Hughes.
Very nice, Tony. I'm not going to ask you only because you're watching the game now, so I don't want to. So
So I'm just gonna say
unfortunately,
5. I'm gonna say 5-2 is gonna be the final. Devils are gonna win, and I think Bobby's right. Which I didn't think at
Oh my
first.
God, they're losing 2-0.
We're gonna get first. I'm not saying anything. We're gonna get first place. I really believe this. I didn't believe Bobby at first. I didn't think it was possible, but now I'm saying, hey, I'm down for the ride, Bobby. Let's do it. Luke Hughes. It's exciting to see him play. I think we win this game pretty easy. I'm not gonna tell you the goal scorers, so go ahead.
okay, Dan.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6-0 Devils with a great amount of production and a cakewalk of a game, but then I'm gonna go 6-2 because Tony's watching the game.
We really are down 2-0. Why the fuck do you guys have to ruin that
Motherfuckers,
shit?
we are
I
not
don't know.
2-0. We are not down 2-0.
All right, well I just figured if you said 5-2, we must be down 2-0.
No.
Okay, maybe we're not.
All right,
down
6-0. I'll stick to that.
Wow. Okay. I think that I'm doing a better job of calling the Rangers games. I've so far gotten all of their last 4 right. I said they were going to beat Tampa, lose to St. Louis. They were going to lose to Buffalo, and lose. And who did I say they were going to win? Who did they beat this weekend?
I
They
don't
beat
know.
somebody. I said they would beat them, and they would lose their last 2. I said to Buffalo and to Toronto on Thursday. I'm still standing by that. So the Rangers will end up with 7
Yeah, but
points.
how about the
we
Devils?
will lose tonight.
Okay.
4-2.
Oof.
It's not going to be a good game.
Obviously.
And Carolina is going to beat Detroit, and we're going to be 3 points behind. So that's what I'm going with.
All right.
Using reverse psychology.
Wait, so you're saying your prediction is bad because you're trying to trick the universe into making the Devils win? Is that,
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. All right. I'm down with that.
Exactly what
That's
I'm
cool.
saying. Yeah.
I'm gonna
So,
murder
no,
a
I
chicken.
say they're-
I'm gonna do full on
I say
voodoo
they're-
right now.
I say they're going to lose, and then they end up winning.
Okay.
And I'm wrong. I'm usually wrong most
I'm
of my
good
predictions.
right now. Then they
And I don't-
lose the Stanley Cup.
I don't want to be a homer podcast, so I'm going to say Buffalo wins.
All right.
And guys, do you think Hughes gets to 100? He's only 4 away too.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes.
Yes.
99. Stuck at 99, and he hits the.
I
He
think
gets
he
to
gets
99
it.
this game, and he gets 2 over. He gets to 101 next game.
Oh, I'm going to go 100 even.
100 even. Okay, I'm saying 100 even
with a
also.
post Thursday night. Write that down.
What was that?
99 with a post on Thursday night.
Ooh.
Ouch!
Okay.
Ouch!
If I get this shit right, I'm
All
gonna
right.
start hanging out with
I
Tony.
don't
and
want
we're
going to
just
the playoffs
predicting everything.
frustrated.
All right, well, guys, that's pretty much our show for this evening. And on Thursday, we have a lot of fun stuff that we're going to discuss. We got some awards we're going to give out to some of our favorite moments of this year's Devil season so far. We're going to discuss the final game of the season. We'll have hopefully, a clear indication of where all this is going to land when it finally does. If not, we wait. But we've got the Devil You Know. We have, like I said, our awards and other nonsense and fun stuff to do along the way. So thank you guys so much for checking us out. We are the Uncle Puckers. If you want to reach us on social media, please just reach out, Google us, Uncle Puckers. Somebody will get back to you. If you want to hit us up online, it's unclepuckers@gmail.com. We read everything we get. If you have any questions, critiques, concerns, or comments, throw them our way. We'll read them on the air. And pretty much that's about it. So thank you again for checking us out, and we will see you when we see you.
Puckers out.
Peace.
All right, Tony. You gotta tell me what's your score.
It's over, Johnny. It's over.